Superman and Shazam do art therapy, hey, plus more excessive Batman stuff in Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum, number 3. So in this story, Superman is being exposed to various types of kryptonite that he's never seen before, and at the end of last issue, there was one that de-aged him and turned him into like a child. So in this issue, he's hanging out with Shazam, the captain, whose civilian identity is Billy Batson, who is a child. And as such, Lex Luthor teams up with not only Dr. Savannah, one of Shazam's enemies, but Toyman to create like a evil amusement park for the heroes to venture into. The amusement park stuff is really fun, actually. They wind up on something called the Canonical Coaster of Doom. But yeah, as Superman and Billy Batson are both kids, they do like an art therapy type thing in this story, and as such, Martin Morazzo gets to draw a handful of pages like a kid. It's like a kid's art style. I thought that was really cool. I love when artists sort of tweak their style and are flexible like that to suit the needs of a story. I've seen people be critical of Martin Morazzo's work on this book and whether or not it's like a fit for Superman. I like that it's different, but I'll grant you that occasionally it does kind of hit an off note. I'm not super fond of Morazzo's take on Toyman. He does a great Dr. Savannah, though. Still too much Batman stuff in this story. You know, Batman working on the cure for Superman, Batman coming in to save the day at the end, that kind of thing. I maintain that there's too much Batman in this story. We really don't need him. I think putting him in as much as they are is a little overindulgent. I know some people think that that's a me problem as opposed to a them problem. And granted, you know, too much Batman in Superman stories is a pet peeve of mine, but respectfully, in this instance, you're wrong. Too much Batman. Do you guys remember the episode of The Last of Us that Nick Offerman was in? I mean, I say remember, it's only been, a couple of years? But it's very much a tragic love story episode where we meet him and his partner is dying, and it's a very emotional episode. Everything Dead and Dying number 2 kind of reminded me of that episode if it had taken a dark turn. Well, a darker turn than it already took. More of a twisted turn, I guess. So our main character here is Jack. We're living in a zombie apocalypse, and he is living with the zombified versions of his partner Luke and their adopted young daughter. But then some regular people come along and they sort of threaten the twisted makeshift status quo that he's established. This is a moving issue in a largely moving story thus far. It's very human. Like, you really feel for Jack and what he has lost and is just desperately trying to hold on to. I, of course, made a Last of Us TV reference at the beginning here, but the art very much gives Walking Dead vibes. The colors by Pip Martin, I get the sense, would be really beautiful if they weren't part of such a dark and twisted story. This kind of feels like a dark horse amidst what's on the stands right now. I get the sense that not a huge number of people are paying attention to it, but I think people should. It's very stirring, very moving. This little boy is in danger. Like, legit. Like, somebody needs to call somebody. And I don't even think he knows it. But you can know it. And all you have to do is ask your local comic shop about The Digger #1. Children in danger. A staple of American comic books since 1940 at least. But yeah, The Digger #1 is another upcoming release from Invader Comics. The final order cutoff date is November 17th. That's the last day you can ask your local comic shop to order an issue for you. The book is set in Puerto Rico, circa 1935. We've got this dangerous dude who's like a treasure hunter looking for some ancient ruins. And to find said ruins, he enlists the help of a noble and resourceful, yet also sneaky little boy who may be in way over his head here. In various interviews and social media posts, the author of The Digger, T.S. Luther, has kind of used the pitch, what if Indiana Jones hunted Short Round for this book? I told you this kid was in trouble. I really like this issue, actually. It's the sum of a bunch of really interesting parts. This is a really fun book to look at, thanks to the art and I believe the colors as well, by Sam Goodillan. He kind of reminds me of Jamie Hewlett, who was the Tank Girl artist, as well as the artist for the Gorillaz. This issue shows us that that's a great pairing with this sort of suspense action adventure story that our author T.S. Luther has cooked up. But there's other smaller elements too, like look at the way the background is on this page and how it's colored that sort of faded, tarnished yellow, almost like an old treasure map. I appreciate the lettering here too, and how the bigger it gets, the more brush strokey it kind of looks. That's an interesting touch. I also really appreciated the way our main character, the kid, is drawn. He can be cute and vulnerable and endearing, but he's also got that rascally vibe to him that really works. The only thing that's a little bit curious to me about this issue is that we don't learn this boy's name. He's just the kid. And I certainly don't think it slipped their mind or something. You know, the title of this issue is The Kid. You know, if the boy's name was Steve, they could have titled the issue Steve, but they didn't. So I think they're deliberately withholding his name. I mean, that's certainly a choice you can make. Cormac McCarthy did it with his characters in The Road. Jon Favreau did it with The Child / Grogu in The Mandalorian. So I guess there's no reason why they can't do it in The Digger. But I am curious to see if the reason they held his name back becomes clearer as the issues progress. Either way, The Digger #1 wound up being one of the most interesting and fun indie comics that I've read in quite some time. I've got high hopes for subsequent issues. And once again, the final order cutoff date for The Digger #1 is November 17th. Don't get left behind on this one, folks. I've got a good feeling about it. What does the Shredder have going for him that Darth Vader does not? I'll repeat the question. What does the Shredder have going for him that Darth Vader does not? It's a harder question than you might think, isn't it? But I'll give you my answer as we talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder #2. So to reiterate, in this story, a Black Ops, like secret agency sort of group, has recruited Shredder, who is on his own right now, to go after a rogue member of the Foot Clan. And in this issue, he goes after a fabled member of the New York City underworld in order to do that. So Shredder's look has obviously evolved and changed over the years numerous times. But in this issue, in this story, our artists are drawing him with red, glowing eyes. It's kind of a spin-off of the white slit look that he sometimes gets. I get the approach that they're going for there, I think, but I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I think it makes Shredder look too robotic, too mechanical. Like, I love when you can see Shredder's eyes, and the fact that they are human eyes, And, you know, he can use those eyes to be very expressive. You can look into them and see that this is a vengeful, angry, hateful, merciless dude who's ultimately worthy of being the main adversary of the Ninja Turtles. But if you do it like this, it makes him look a little more like Darth Vader. And here's the thing. Darth Vader's look is iconic, and it very much works for Darth Vader, but the downside of Darth Vader's mask is that you can't see his face at all. He can't emote, ever. Shredder can, and that's one of the things that Shredder has going for him that Darth Vader does not. Other than that, though, with this Shredder book, can't complain much. I mean, this issue drew me in further from a writing standpoint, which is what I wanted it to do. And be on the lookout toward the end here, folks, because Shredder does something really merciless and ruthless, really villain-like. And that's one of the things that I really wanted to see from this book. I kind of wanted it to give Shredder his balls back. Donatello goes to robot camp in Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. So this is IDW's new comic book that is based on the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon on Paramount Plus, which of course spins out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie that came out in 2023. This is basically the latest incarnation of the TMNT. And you know, I liked Mutant Mayhem. I like this version of the Turtles overall. So if you feel the same way, I really can't think of a reason why you wouldn't like this issue. It kind of feels like the start of a second season to the Tales of the TMNT cartoon show. There is an actual second season of that cartoon show coming, though. But yeah, in this issue, Donatello is in like a robotics club in school, and as such, they go off to robot camp, and robot battles ensue. The novelty of the Turtles being in a school setting has not worn off on me yet. That's such a fresh take on the characters and this universe. I'm really interested to see more of it. I almost wonder if, like, from a creative standpoint, that was how they developed the story for Mutant Mayhem. Like, this is what we want our take of the Turtles to be. You know, they're in school, they're like regular teenagers. So now let's work backwards from that point. You know what I mean? Donatello's robot is called Metalhead. Metalhead is a TMNT legacy robot character that's been adapted into various different projects and universes. It's always interesting to see what the next iteration, the next mutation, if you will, of a legacy character is going to be. So this issue has that going for it. But yeah, this I think was exactly what you would be looking for if you are wanting more of the Mutant Mayhem Turtles and are looking for something to tide you over until either the next season of the cartoon or the next movie, etc. Dr. Doom pays a heavy price for absolute power in One World Under Doom #8. So this is the climactic chapter, the penultimate chapter, in One World Under Doom, the story where Dr. Doom gains absolute power, basically, over the Earth, politically, magically, and otherwise. And in this issue, the big end battle occurs, and something very bad happens. And you know what? I really should have seen this coming, but I didn't, so credit where credit is due. Big climactic battle sequences in superhero comic books are kind of hard to do because we've seen so many of them. It's like, what are you going to do to make this particular one stand out? This one isn't overly successful in that regard, although it does have a really cool moment involving The Thing. The Thing is also on the cover here, great cover. I don't know if it's meant to invoke the classic cover of Captain America punching out Hitler, but if they were ever going to invoke that shot, this would be the issue to do it. So I suspect it was. This has probably been the least enthralling issue of a story that has thus far been quite enthralling. I don't know if it's losing steam or if this was just kind of an off issue in that respect, but the ending does have a real kick to it, so I'm hoping they stick the landing next issue. I love the cover to Wonder Woman number 26. A pitch-perfect cover for this weekend's No King's Day. This cover by Daniel Sampere and our colorist Tomio Mori is one of my favorite images to come out of this Wonder Woman series thus far. So much of Diana's history as a character is in, like, protest, defiance, resistance. So it's very fitting. So in this issue, we kind of learn the origin of the island that the fascistic supervillain Mouse Man is running as basically his own country, where he has this like hyper control over everybody who lives there. And of course, Wonder Woman is currently on that island fighting back against that fascistic force. Of course, you guys know I love the realistic looking giant mice in this book, but I also dig, from a creative standpoint, the look of the henchmen with the gas masks. You know, it's kind of got like a post-apocalyptic Nazi look to it. Wonder Woman hits somebody with a German suplex in this issue, which is kind of interesting. You don't normally see that outside a pro wrestling ring. I really like the origin that our author Tom King came up with for Mouse Man's like island nation. You know, so much of the evil in the world finds its roots in good intentions, and it seems like that's what he's trying to present here, with at least the beginning of what wound up being this horrible thing. America is not the hero of every story. That's a hard truth. And it's a truth that a lot of people struggle to wrap their mind around and wrap their heart around, I guess. And it's a hard truth that Dave Colton and Steve Rogers come to realize in Captain America number 4. So in this story, Dave Colton is basically the modern-day Captain America. The story is set during the Iraq War, like that 2000s era. And Colton and Steve Rogers, the Captain America that everybody knows, are on a mission in Latveria, which is ruled by Dr. Doom. And Colton learns a hard truth about what America is doing in Latveria, and things do not go well for him. But yeah, this story has largely been about Colton and Steve Rogers, to an extent, sort of coming to that realization about America, you know, that the American government is as flawed as any organized group of people. Don't tell them I said that. And at this point, the story is really about what they do with that knowledge. Steve Rogers, of course, we know, goes on to become Captain America, you know, the guy who stands for what America's values are supposed to be. Dave Colton, I sense, will take a different approach. Captain America fights Dr. Doom in this issue. That's pretty cool, of course. There's a great moment during the fight where Cap basically exposes Victor Von Doom as a human being, as a person, and not this, like, higher being that he set himself up as the dictator of Latveria. That's a great moment. A moment that I'm not ashamed to say I was kind of jealous of, sitting here in the real world.